Well, I'm a software developer, and I'd like to talk to you today about a crisis that's happening all the time right now in your computer. And it's about passwords and how easy they are to hack. And I would like to do a 4 to 6 minute speech, and then I'll take 3 or 4 minutes of questions. So, first thing I'd like to do is ask you in the audience, how many of you have some passwords? I think everyone put up their hand. This is incredible. I think if you have to use a computer nowadays, you have to use a password. An interesting statistic is, in 2013, a study was done that showed that 56% of people use the same password everywhere. That's more than half of the people. And I don't know if all of you do this, but if some of you use the same password everywhere, I want to make a really important point right off the bat, that this is a really insecure way of doing things. You think, well, it's okay, I use a really complicated password, how can anyone guess it? Well, if anyone finds out your password, they now have access to all of your websites. They can access your bank, they can access your email, they can access your social media, the Facebook and the Twitter. It's all exposed to identity theft. And this is really bad. And even for people who don't do this, sometimes the passwords they use are really easy to guess. So I would first like to say, these are really bad habits. And then I'm going to tell a few things of how you can choose a better password. And finally, I'll even suggest an even better way of doing things is using called a password manager software. And I think as people become more savvy and technology becomes a bigger part of their life, people will start using password managers more and more often. But first of all, what happens if someone guesses your password? Can anyone have this happen to them before?
Yes.
So, yeah, a lot of people have it. What happened? What happened?
Somebody guessed my password, I guess, and my Yahoo account was hijacked.
Oh, yes.
And I lost all my contacts.
See, that's what can happen. It's horrible. And you feel like someone's like violated your privacy, and it's your sacred username and your account. And if someone can break in and steal your identity, have you even heard of horrible scams where if someone finds out your password, they might impersonate you and try to commit fraud against your friends? Like, for example, if you receive an email from a close friend saying, "Hey, Geoff, I'm stuck in Indonesia and I need someone to send me money. Can you wire me $5,000? And if you know the person well and you think, well, they're a big traveler, maybe they're in Indonesia, and you wire them Western Union $5,000, and then they talk to you the next day and they ask you what's going on, and you realize they never ever went to Indonesia. So this actually happens quite often for identity theft and fraud, and that's something really, really bad that can happen. Another thing that happened to me was I have a website, several websites online, and I noticed in this web logs on my server that every day these little robots were attempting to guess my password thousands of times. They had identified that I had a website, found out my account name, and were just attempting to guess it in an automated fashion all day. And eventually, a couple of my websites were actually hacked that way, and those hackers got in and were able to modify my website to distribute spam to all these people who came to my website. Well, this is really bad. If your password contains a dictionary word, a common name, it's very short, it's just a simple word, it's easy for you to remember, it's likely that one of these automated guessing programs will eventually guess your password. This is really bad. So what I would suggest is, if you want to avoid this from happening, there's some software that can help you a lot. It's called a password manager. And what it will do is, there's several different versions available. One is called Keepass, another one is called Lastpass. There's a bunch of other ones out there too. And what they'll do is they'll generate a password for you that's hard to guess. It'll look like a random sequence of letters and numbers. And the chance of someone guessing that with a dictionary is much lower. And they also will take care of remembering all your passwords for all your websites. Let's say you have maybe 30 to 50 websites that you have passwords for. It will keep track of what your password is for each of these. And then all you have to do is remember the master password for the password manager. If you forget that password, it's a big problem. But if you have that master password, maybe write it down somewhere, put it in a safe, and remember that combination somewhere. Just you gotta remember somehow. Some people keep it in their wallet, but that's bad because if you lose your wallet. But that's a better system than using the same password everywhere. It's also a better system than having an easy to guess password that is just like a combination of the 2 simple words. I think one of my passwords that got hacked was like funny and then the number 2 and then the bun. Funny to bun. And someone guessed it like with an automated hacker. It was really bad. So, with conclusion, if you are concerned about getting hacked, which is happening to a lot of our members today, I would recommend using a password manager, or at least using a different password on each site and keeping the passwords in a safe place. Because that will really help you in the security, and you really don't want to get taken advantage of by these hackers who are just trying to hack everyone they can, and eventually if you have an insecure policy, unfortunately they will reach out to you and hack you as well. So that is the crisis that you really want to avoid. And I encourage you, if you haven't thought about passwords, you use the same password for years, consider upgrading to a more secure password and also changing your password everywhere you use it. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so now I'm going to have the Q&A. So what do you think? Yes, Q&A.
I have a question. So you're talking about password manager, which is great, and it's a bit ironic though because you couldn't get your main password hacked. So some of us think that what's the point? But one question I have, because one thing I have difficulty with is every time you create a new website, everybody has different rules as to what they will accept passwords, and that really can mess you up. And so for those who are trying to hack the passwords, if you put, let's say, an exclamation mark at the beginning of the word or a question mark at the end of the word, is it still as easy if there's a real word in all that for them to find, or did you kind of mess up that system?
Good question. So the question was, if you use characters with exclamation marks in your password, does it make it more secure? And I would say it does make it a little bit more secure, but it's still fairly easy to guess if the password is short. If it's a longer password and it has a whole bunch of symbols in it, it's harder to guess with a dictionary attack, but they can still run a guessing program against it. So you wouldn't be fully secure if you have that, but it's much more secure to use random letters and some exclamation marks than if you use like the word password. Some people use like the word password 1 or let me in or their name or something like that. That's really bad. And it does make it more complicated if you use numbers, letters, capital letters, and everything like that as well. Yes?
What's the password technology that you recommend? You're talking about,
what password manager would I recommend? Yeah. Well, there's a few that I recommend. One is called Keepass. Keepass, Keepass. And that's a really good one because it's an open source program so that it's fairly secure. It's scrutinized by many people, and it has a way of encrypting your passwords vault. And that one, you can get a version of it for various phones and as well as desktop computers. Another one I've heard is people use is called Lastpass, which some people it is based on the cloud. I think it's a company that runs that as well. So we can also just Google password manager, read some articles, just sort of recommendations.
That's one more question.
Sure.
What do you see in the future to be like 5 years, like technology? You know, because obviously people are going to catch up with all these passwords. Like, what are they talking about these days?
One thing that's coming up now is called two-factor authentication. And what that means is when you want to log in somewhere, you have to prove it's you by having something that identifies you. So whether it's like an ID card that has a number on it, or it sends a text message to your phone, and you have to type that code in. So those kind of things will be more secure than just someone guessing your password. You have to have some kind of object that is uniquely yours. And my company is a technology company I work for. We all are issued these little secure ID cards that you have to type a four-digit code on the card. It generates a number on the window, and then you type that into the computer as well as your password. So this is kind of another level of security that's really good.
Do you think we'll be using physical type of stuff, like the eyes or finger,
Possibly, yeah. Sometimes you can get computers with a biometric scanner. The new iPhones, they come with a iPhone 6, or it comes with a fingerprint scanner, so you can just unlock it with your finger. Yeah. Yes. Lots of questions. It's good.
Why do you suppose that it is that commonly used sites like Dreamhouse and WordPress don't have a secondary password failsafe? Like if you get the password wrong 10 times in a row, you've got to enter in one of those randomly generated, GIFs that pop up. I know that I've heard that if you have a WordPress account, you will be hacked. That's just a thing here. Why do you suppose it is that customers don't mandate that it improve?
I think it's something that they just haven't done yet, and there has to be a lot of people like yourself who request that and demand that, and eventually they'll catch up to it, because those things they do take time to implement, and like companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter are implementing those, but they have a lot more programming resources.
Yeah.